start recording the class for the ones who are not here. Okay, now, remember last week we spoke about the three economic system, the traditional, the command, and the market system. Now, today we're going to focus on the command system, okay? The command. I have brought a video that talks about now the command system is run, the command system is run by communism and socialism. That's a characteristic of the command economy. Yeah, it's run by either the communism or the socialism. What is that, teacher? Well, don't worry. We'll discuss what's the difference between communism and socialism. Now over here. Now remember, guys, you have all this information already here. Here, 12A. God, what happened? Jeez, ¿qué pasó aquí? Technology as usual, technology. Okay, now everything is, I loaded up, here. I loaded up the PowerPoint that I'm going to use to teach this class, and also the PDF is over here, and a couple of videos, okay? So you have all your resources in order to complete the vocabulary and the assessments. Remember, all that information is already in the la agenda semanal, diario semanal, no sé cómo le dicen ustedes, en el ISAI. So everything is in the ISAI already, like it used to be, remember, back in time. But over here, I have only some documents that you need in order to complete those assignments. So over here, the PDF and the PowerPoint, a couple of videos that talk about what I'm about to start talking today. Now, okay, let's begin, guys. Open this. Here it is. Here it is. Okay, let me close this. Now, remember, this is the second topic. Now, remember, in your notebook, you need to write the title: Command Economies. Okay, now these are the object, and I'm not going to read the object, but it's written there. Now, this is vocabulary. The vocabulary, you have to write it under the title of Command Economy. Vocabulary number 2. Now, these are the words. Only 4 words in the vocabulary, all right? So you need to write it and find the meanings. And it's written in the PDF that I loaded up already in your platform. Now, remember, government controls everything in a command economy. They decide what to do, how to do it, and to whom it's going to be done, all the production. In a command economy, leaders decide what should be produced and how it should be produced. They also decide for whom should be produced. It's powered by setting wage, by determining who earns, quien se gana the highest wages, salario más alto, and who the lowest, los salarios más bajos, al pueblo, para el pueblo. These leaders decide who has the money to buy available products. A system in which the society's leaders, usually member of a central government, like of course somebody has to run the show. So it has to be the government, central government, make all economic decisions, is called centrally planned economy. They call it like this, central planned economy. Now, this is an example of what a central planning economy should be. What if the government went further? Suppose that bureaucrats in government officials in Washington, D.C. had the power to decide which businesses could operate in your town, in your city. Yo digo, ¿qué tipo de negocio se va a crear o van a poder ser creados ahí en tu ciudad? Further, más allá, these bureaucrats decide not only what these businesses should, oh my God, what businesses should produce, but also how much each business should produce. Eso es el colmo. O sea, te va a decir también hasta cuánto tú vas. O sea, tú estás poniendo tu dinero y tú también te vas a decir hasta cuánto tú vas mensualmente vas a producir o vas a vender. No, hombre, ese es el colmo. So finally, also decide who could have jobs and set work hours. O sea, te dice cuántas horas vas a trabajar y cuánto va a ser tu escala salarial. No, hombre, por favor. So government controls of this type are feature of a command or central plan economy. Command or central plan economy. Now over here there's a chart that make to compare the common economy and the free market economy. Over here, let's focus on this one. Examples of free market economy. Hong Kong, Singapore have a limited government. Of course, the government has to be involved, but only limited. While in the command, these are examples, Soviet Union, China, Cuba, Venezuela right now, and maybe this guy in power in Nicaragua. Who's the owner? Industry owned and managed by the government in a command. They control the price and everything. Government owned firms have less incentive to be efficient. The government may provide more equitable distribution resources. Okay, let's move on. Now, now over here, talks about this guy, Karl Marx. Este es el responsable del comunismo, socialismo. Karl Marx, en el siglo XIX, un alemán filósofo, historiador, and economist. According to Marx analysis, all of history is a struggle. Es una lucha entre clases. En la historia siempre ha habido luchas entre clases, entre el rey, el poder, la monarquía y el pueblo. Siempre ha sido así. Apenas él llega a esa conclusión. Y actualmente también así. In his own time, the struggle was between the owner of a great industry factories and the worker who exchanged their labor for wages. While the industrials grew rich, the worker remained relatively poor. Y eso es lo que sucedía en aquella época, chicos. Acuérdense que en aquella época, 1700, 1800, está la revolución industrial. Industrial Revolution. Acuérdense que allá el dueño de un negocio o de una fábrica le importaba crear más y 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 más. Y el trabajador tenía que trabajar más horas. Más horas. Hasta que hubo un movimiento, por eso que siempre el 1 de mayo se considera el día de 1800 y pico, no me acuerdo qué año. Los líderes sindicalistas se rebelaron y llegaron a un acuerdo que solamente los niños no van a trabajar, ni las mujeres solamente ciertas horas, y los hombres a 8 horas, y muchas otras cosas. Porque antes no era así. Antes tenían que trabajar no 8 horas, sino 12 horas, 14 horas antes era así. Y el área donde trabajaban era paupérrimo, o sea que no había muchas, era en situaciones infrahumanas en las que trabajaban la gente antes, hasta que sucedió este movimiento. Y por eso es que el 1 de mayo siempre se celebra el Día del Trabajador, que tiene que ver con todos estos movimientos del socialismo y el comunismo, chicos. Okay? In his own time, this is all I mentioned. Now, Marx predicts that in time the workers would overthrow, iba a tumbar a quién? Este sistema, and transfer the factories to the people, to the public hands, with the means of products owned by the government. O sea, que el gobierno se iba a encargar de todo eso. The class struggle would be resolved. And all citizens would share it, the wealth. Y todos los ciudadanos van a disfrutar de estas riquezas. Aquí hay una schedule that talks, or chart that talks about the difference between communism and socialism. Now, this is the important thing. Who owns resources? ¿Quién maneja los recursos? Now, the communism, definitely the government. Everything the government. Now, in the socialism, government owns basic resources. And the rest are privately owned. ¿Ya? Esa es la diferencia. O sea, este es en extremo y este no está en extremo. So that's the difference between communism, but both comes from the same ideology. Okay? Now, this is the wants to blame, este es el culpable. Mr. Karl Marx, the father of the communism. Socialism, communism, socialism, an economic system in which government owns some or all of the factor of production, developed from the idea of Marx, Karl Marx. Eso es, the government. Now, the communism, a more extreme form of socialism, guys. Extreme, this is the word, extreme form of socialism, in which there is no private ownership. There's no private ownership of property. Or no political freedom. No puede haber ni ¿cómo se llama? Ni Molirena, ni Cambio Democrático, nada de eso. No, no, no. There's no political opinion, ideologies, okay? Also grew out of Marx's thinking. Essentially, it is authoritarian socialism. El comunismo como un socialismo autoritario, básicamente, okay? An authoritarian system requires absolute obedience, obedecer. To authority, lo que dice la autoridad se tiene que hacer y punto. In a figure 2.1 lists the major characteristics of a socialism and communism that we watched already over here. This is the chart 2.1. Okay. Now there's another kind of socialism that is called democratic socialism. It's established through the democratic political process rather than through a balanced overthrow of the government. In this form of socialism, the government owns the basic industry, but other industries are privately owned. So it's the same as over here, this socialism, okay? Now this another kind of socialism, but basically it's the same. Now let's stop right here, guys, because I will continue on Friday. In order to complete this chapter. Now over here I have a couple of videos that I want you to share with you that talks more about communism and socialism. Let's begin with this one, the socialism. Let me see. Hurry up. Come on. Here it is. Come on. Oh my God, as usual.
Hola, soy Valeria Dubín, diseñadora gráfica especializada en desarrollo de marca, espacios gráficos y diseño gráfico para exposiciones. He sido socia y directora de arte en Estudi Canó de Barcelona, donde he trabajado para...
Thank you.
Have you ever wondered what socialism is? I mean, we hear about it all the time in the news, but what really is it? Today on the Mr. Sin channel, we'll be talking about socialism and what it is and how it impacts society. Socialism is an economic system that focuses on wealth distribution. It does have some aspects of a market economy, and it also has some of a command economy. If you don't know what I'm talking about there, click on the cards above. They'll show you those videos where I go into a market and a command economy. But socialism, the goal of it is to have wealth distribution. There'll be still some rich and there'll be some poor, but their goal is to have more people in the middle. Now, to do this, the government plays a role in the economy. This is different than capitalism, especially true capitalism. The government is involved here. And normally how the government distributes wealth is through taxes and then the redistribution of those taxes. And this could take shape in a variety of ways. Maybe in an income tax, it could be also a sales tax, it could be property taxes. All these different taxes would be used to be able to create then a distribution where money can be spread out throughout the people. A lot of times what occurs is the wealthier get taxed at a higher rate, while the people who have less get taxed at a lower rate. Now, this is one of the controversial things with socialism. Some people say that you shouldn't just tax the wealthy because they have done well in society. Others, though, point out that, well, maybe the wealthy have benefited more from society and they should give back to society. And then again, there's a counter argument saying, well, they could donate to charity and let them make their own decisions. And you shouldn't just punish people. And we could go back and forth on these things all day. And in class, I am sure we will be debating this. But socialism, the big focus of it is wealth distribution. If you remember anything from socialism, remember it's all about bridging the gap. You still will have some people who are wealthy and some people who are poor, but the goal is to have more people in the middle. Now, this can be a big advantage for a lot of people as there are safety nets and people will have protection. If you fail, the government's there to help you get back on your feet. On the other hand, though, too, the disadvantage, like we've already brought up, is that it could stifle innovation and creativity. The reason being that the government will step in when you become more successful and maybe take away more of your money. So hopefully you understand exactly what socialism is, how it impacts people in a society, and how it's even different than capitalism, the one that I've already referenced. Make sure to check out my other videos on the different economic.
Okay, let's stop right here. Now let's move on to the communism, guys. Communism.
Welcome to the Mr. Sin channel. Today we're going to be talking about communism. We'll see what communism is, why some people like it, and why some people don't. So let's figure out what's going on in the world of communism. Communism's goal is to create a classless society. Now, communism's been practiced throughout history and even today in a variety of ways, but true communism tries to get as close as possible to a classless society. If you're going to remember anything about communism, remember classless society. When Karl Marx created communism, he had this idea of capitalism being evil. He thought that capitalism would just drive revolution in society, that eventually people would get so upset with all of the losers and the few winners, and it would rise up and eventually take over the government and the businesses and the bourgeoisie. Now, Karl Marx thought this would lead to socialism, where we would see the bridged gap between the different classes, and then eventually another kind of revolution, and we would get to communism. Marx believed that for communism to work, we had to have a big government, at least at the start. The government would come in and collect all the resources, the means of production, and then distribute them evenly. Over time, then, the government's role would continuously shrink. As people became equal, there would no longer be this constant fighting over scarce resources. And when everyone had the same amount, there would be no more an incentive to continuously outdo people. And so then by having everyone be the same, we would have order, and the government would no longer be needed. And so in true communism, the government then would continue to shrink until eventually they go away. Because if the government stays, that is a class in its own, and then people in the government would be above others, and that would defeat the purpose of a classless society. Communism's great on paper. It sounds really good. Unfortunately, we haven't seen a lot of examples, at least on the large scale throughout history, of communism working. Normally what starts to happen is communism will be put in place, and then a dictator or a big government will take over, and they don't relinquish their power. That's kind of the human error. So the same with communism is great on paper, but bad in practice, partially because of human error. Now, in smaller societies, we've seen communism work. Just again, though, on the large scale, it doesn't work that much. People give up too much individual freedoms, and corruption normally comes in. Hopefully you can understand exactly what communism is, how it's supposed to happen, and why it just doesn't necessarily work.
Okay, guys, this is what I got for you today. So remember, guys, you need to complete the vocabularies, and also you need to complete the assessment. As I said, the PDF is already loaded up in the Neo platforms, and also this PowerPoint is Neo platform. Another thing, remember, next Wednesday, we're gonna have the first evaluation, the forum, okay? So everybody needs to be here early.